about the popular cozy games, right? Stardew Valley, everyone knows about. Minecraft, Animal Crossing. It's kind of pointless to make a video about the well-known games. So today, I have 10 underrated cozy games on the Nintendo Switch. I really got to start shortening these titles. Now, all 10 of these games I fully recommend. They just don't get enough attention. So I definitely want to know in the comments if you've played any of these and what you think about them. But here we go. In no particular order, here are the 10 underrated games that I found and know about and played. Pat, get to the video. First up on the list, and honestly the reason why I even made this video, is a game called Little Dragon's Cafe. Now, if you didn't know, Little Dragon's Cafe is made by the same developer who worked on all of the Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons game. He left to kind of pursue his own projects, this one included. Now, Little Dragon's Cafe has you playing as either a boy or a girl character. And long story short, the story is very weird, but your mom basically becomes sick and it's up to you to run the cafe. That's the short story. So basically what you'll be doing in this game is basically gathering ingredients for recipes to make in your cafe. There's no sort of like money system. It's just kind of you gathering ingredients, farming, harvesting, things like that. And oh yeah, there's a baby dragon that you have to take care of. And the really cool thing about this game, as you progress in the game, your dragon companion actually grows up to the point where it's a full adult and you can fly it throughout the island, which is, I think, is a super cool premise. I will say one thing negatively about this game is that the performance on the Nintendo Switch, it's not the best. It plays a lot smoother on other consoles. You might see a similar theme coming up with games later on this list, but Little Dragon's Cafe, I can't stress enough. I wanted to put this first, so if you're just watching a few minutes of this video, at least you'll catch this game. It's a hidden gem, a little bit older now. Love the graphics, love the gameplay loop, and it seriously is a super chill game. Check it out. The next game is a game that came out very recently, and I will say there is a big caveat here, but let's talk about the game first, and that is Lake. And this just came out on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a very simple premise, but I think it kind of hits home with some of its more serious themes. So you basically play as this female character who is coming back home from the city to help out your father delivering packages, delivering mail. So you basically take over and give your dad a little break delivering mail and things like that. But it is your old town that you're revisiting. So the majority of the game, you'll be delivering packages to people. The bigger part of the game is sort of reconnecting with some of the characters of your past. You can choose to engage with people or just kind of keep it short and go on your way. It's super relaxing to just kind of drive this mail truck, listen to the radio, enjoy the sights and sounds. But there is optional dialogue if you want to dive deeper into some of the characters. Now, like Little Dragon's Cafe, but worse, this game is a pretty bad Nintendo Switch port. Now, I wanted to include it on this list because it is a good game, and if you have other means to play it, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, like whatever, definitely play it on another system, or maybe put this on your wish list and wait for the developers to hopefully release a patch or update to make the game run a little bit better. The graphics aren't as good on the Nintendo Switch, the performance isn't as good on Nintendo Switch, but, you know, if you're not a stickler about that kind of stuff, it's not unplayable. It's just, it doesn't look great on the Switch, but it is a great game. Wanted to include it on here. If you can play it elsewhere, do so. Check out Lake. It's super fun. The next game, no one told me about this. No one said, hey, Pat, you should probably play this game. Pokémon Cafe Remix is a free game. You can literally go on the eShop right now and download it. No risk whatsoever. It is a free puzzle game made by the Pokemon Company, and it's kind of weird putting a Pokemon game on an underrated games list, but this is a super cute and cozy game that the Pokemon Company came out with, I believe in 2020. I was probably playing Animal Crossing, that's why I missed this one. Now, this is basically a puzzle game where you have to match certain Pokemon together. You kind of swirl it around with your finger. It's kind of weird. You got to look up trailers and gameplay of this, but it's a puzzle game at heart. Now, the one thing I will say about this that's kind of odd, but I've seen it in a few other Switch games, you can only play this game in handheld mode. Like I said, you kind of have to use your finger as sort of a stylus to play the puzzle game. So it is kind of weird. You can't just relax on your TV, but I will say that it's a pretty good experience. It is free. There are microtransactions, but I will say I played this game for a few hours and I didn't need to pay anything. Like, you can literally just play for free, and if you can't play it anymore, put it down, and eventually you'll be able to play it for free again. Not a huge deal. I love Pokemon. I love the aesthetics of this. Check it out. Did I mention it's free? The next game I want to mention isn't really a game. It's more of a DLC to an existing game, but it's pretty good, man. And that is Eastward, the Octopia DLC. So Eastward is a action-adventure game that has been available on the Switch for a couple years now. They recently released Octopia, which is a farm sim expansion to this game. Now, you have to own the base game and then buy the DLC to play it, but I will say this is super worth it. You can get it right now on the eShop, and it really reminds me of sort of like a Stardew Valley Light, just because there aren't as many things to do as, Stardew Valley, but it really reminds me of that. I don't know what it is. I think it's the pixel art. The music is fantastic. This one really surprised me. And oh, by the way, you don't need to know anything about Eastward to kind of jump into this expansion. Now, I haven't rolled credits on this, but I have put in about 10 hours. So I think this expansion is pretty lengthy, and I think it's worth it. So I love the graphics. I love the art style of this. And if this interests you, go check it out. But just remember, you got to own Eastward to play the Octopia DLC. The next game is super underrated, and that is Lil Gator Game. And the best way I can describe this, it's kind of a mix between Zelda Wind Waker and A Short Hike. And I really love those two games, so to combine them is just amazing. You play, as in the name, as this Lil Gator. And you're kind of faced with the idea of growing up, right? Because you're trying to reconnect with your sister, who always used to play make-believe with you and go on these, fictional adventures. So you and your friends set up this giant adventure to kind of get her, involved again and kind of make her feel like a kid again. She is growing up, of course, so it's much, much different. But this game is so cute. You can explore a pretty big map. You get a paraglider. You get this cardboard sword, and you can run around. All of the enemies, and I'm using quotations, you just can't see them. All of the enemies are made of cardboard, and it's just really, really well done. No one talks about this game, and I feel like if you do sort of the laid back adventure games, literally the enemies are made of cardboard. There's no threats here. The graphics are super bright and vibrant. This is towards the top of my list of all of these games today. It's just that good. So check it out. It's called Lil Gator Game. I don't know if this next game is necessarily underrated, but I feel like when people think of Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons, this one is sort of left out. And this is Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Now, if you didn't know, this is a remake of the Game Boy Advance game, Friends of Mineral Town, with a completely, different graphic overhaul. They've improved a lot of different aspects of this game. And if you like this chibi art style, I think you're really going to dig this one. So for starters, this is always the Story of Seasons game I recommend to people if they're saying, hey, Pat, I want to get into the series, but I don't know what game to start with. And I always say this one because it is very, very simplistic. There's not a lot to this, but I found myself just being addicted. One more day. Okay, that day's done. Let's just go to the next day. You'll be doing everything that you think you can do. You can fish, you can farm, you can harvest. There are different events. There's dating and marriage in this game. There's also some, pretty cool mini games. The seasons change, of course. This is just a well done game, albeit a pretty basic farming game. But if you're new into this series or, into this genre of gaming, this is a good starting point. I'll always recommend this one. This one actually goes on sale for pretty cheap too. So Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town. Remember that name because there's a few on the Switch. This one's one of my favorites. All right, here we go. Another Nintendo game that I'm putting on an underrated list, but for good reason, because Yoshi's Crafted World is one of my favorite Nintendo Switch games that you probably never heard of. Now, Yoshi's Crafted World, I believe, came out in like 2018, 2019, and I think it's one of the best 2D platformers on the system, and that's saying a lot because we have a lot of good ones. Yoshi's Crafted World is so well made. The world itself, as in the name, is completely made of different crafting and like cardboard, like all these materials. It looks like little dioramas that you're playing with. And honestly, if you really wanted to, you could probably recreate a lot of these levels in real life. For example, there is a water level where the fish are made of paper plates. Like, it's just super creative. This game, really charming, really relaxing, and not all that challenging, which I think is a good combination if you are looking for a truly cozy game. A lot of replayability in this game too, as each level you can play completely flipped, so you can see other parts of the level, which makes it really exciting. There are a bunch of unlockables too, like different costumes and things. But if you're looking for a very high quality game, albeit it's kind of, one of the more pricey ones on this list, Yoshi's Crafted World, I cannot recommend enough. You got to check this one out. The next game is in a series that's pretty popular. I'm talking about Rune Factory 3 Special. Now, it's kind of weird because Rune Factory 3, 4, and 5 are all on the Nintendo Switch, but Rune Factory 3 is the latest release. I know, it makes no sense. But Rune Factory 3 Special is a remake of Rune Factory 3, which was on the Nintendo DS. And I think this is the underrated Rune Factory in these groups of games. So why do I like this one so much? I think I like 4 the best, but Rune Factory 3 does a few things that the other games don't. For example, this one has you playing as a boy only, which could be a deal breaker for some people, but I think there are over a dozen marriage candidates in this game. And if you like dating in sort of these farm cozy games, this is the game to do it because there's so many bachelorettes to choose from. Now, this is another, difference between this game and some of the other ones I've mentioned. This game has combat to it. So if you don't like combat in your cozy games, this is probably not going to be a good one. But I like the mix-up. You can do things like farming and talking to townspeople, but you can also go into dungeons and beat the crap out of monsters, which I really like. It's a nice change of pace. But if you are looking for a shorter Rune Factory game that's just as fun but has more of an emphasis on dating, this is the one for you. I can't recommend it enough. Another hidden gem on the Nintendo Switch is a game called LittleWood. Now, this game, super charming. It really reminds me of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance era graphically, but also gameplay wise, it's a very simple game. So basically the story of this takes place after you save the day. So you actually don't get to play that part, but you play, the role of rebuilding this town. You can do things like terraforming, you can go out adventuring. There's no enemies, there's no combat, but there is pretty much everything else. You level up for literally doing anything in the game. So I feel like that is just super satisfying as a player. You'll cut down trees, your wood cutting level will go up. You'll terraform, you'll level up for that. So it's a really cool premise. I like the gameplay loop in this as well. The days last just the right amount of time. And again, super charming graphics. I'm very nostalgic for the Game Boy. So if you want a very chill sort of town builder type game, I think LittleWood's a good choice. And finally, hear me out, Power Wash Simulator is a super chill, relaxing game. And I think it's worthy of being on this list because when people think of the simulator games, they don't always go to cozy. But I'll assure you, Power Wash Simulator is one of the most satisfying games to play. It's such a simple premise. You have something that's dirty and you have a power washer and you make it clean again. And it's just like, this endless sort of like you're almost put into a trance when you play this game. I really like this. You can upgrade your power washer. There's different tools that you can unlock. One of my favorite things is the expansions that you can get in the game, including the SpongeBob DLC. So you can actually like power wash things underwater. Now that I think about it, that doesn't really make sense, but you can power wash things from the SpongeBob universe, which I think is really cool. I'm a big SpongeBob fan, so this is pretty neat. Now, I will say that each one of these levels can take from like 25 minutes to over an hour, depending on how meticulous you want to be. I always strive for that 100% when I play these levels, but check out Power Wash Simulator. I feel like this is a super relaxing game. Put on some music and just start washing things, because if you're not going to do it in real life, just do it in this game. So there you have it. Those are 10 super fun, underrated cozy games. Some of them are well known, you know, Story of Seasons, Rune Factory, Yoshi, but I feel like they get often overlooked when people are making like, here's some farming games you should play. Like some of these just get lost in the shuffle. Let me know what you think about the list. Also, just one more side note, if any of these games interest you, and you want to save a little bit of money, because like 9 times out of 10, these games always go on sale, probably except Yoshi, but I've even seen that game go on sale. Put it on your wish list, or if they have physical versions, you know, go on eBay, Amazon, look it up. You'll probably get it for cheaper. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out, everyone. I own a mic stand, but I just like doing this. Okay? I like doing it like this. But now I can't put it down. Like I could put it down, but it's